All right. So let's get started. Today's presentation, as you know, that's why you're here, is titled "Unlock Hidden Family Records with FamilySearch's AI-powered full-text search," and it is being presented by Todd Knowles. Uh, Todd is a deputy chief genealogical officer at FamilySearch, where he has been for 23 years. After being introduced to family history at the age of 11, Todd soon discovered his Jewish roots. This journey to find his Polish Jewish ancestors has led to the creation of the Knowles Collection, six databases that now contain the genealogical records of almost 1.5 million people. Todd will likely mention that again. Todd is a former president of the Jewish Genealogical Society of Utah, and he has spoken throughout the world. His articles have been widely published. He's widely known. So, Todd, thanks again for agreeing to give us this talk, and we look forward to hearing it. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn over the screen to you, Todd. Over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know there's some information in the chat that people are breaking up their audio. Is it better when I'm speaking? I know I was having a hard time, Roy, with you breaking up a little. Can people tell me if it's okay with me or is
You could just,
okay? I'm okay. All right, good. All right. So we'll go from there. Let me share my screen with you first. Excellent. Okay, let's start from there. First off, it's a joy to be here. Um, this is an area, not only Jewish genealogy, but San Francisco, that near and dear to my heart. I was last week in Oakland for the week, and I kept sneaking over to San Francisco. So it was nice. And as you'll see in a minute, San Francisco is very much in my own family history. You'll see some examples from my family from San Francisco here in a moment. So we're going to talk about full text search. Full text search has been out about 2 years. Let's just call it 2 years. And it has grown so much. It started out as 5 collections. And now, as you'll see in a minute, I have yesterday's numbers. It's up to about 8,600 collections. So it's just growing crazy. If I can explain what full text search very quickly, it is, as all of you who do your family research, for example, if you're looking at a marriage index, that index is usually indexed by the bride and the groom, kind of standard. And that way with most entries. The nice thing about full text search, it takes the entire document that you have and goes through the entire document and pulls out all the names or locations or whatever. So even if your people are not in the bride and groom, for example, on a marriage record, if they're listed as a witness or just someone who's there or whatever, it will still pull out their name. So it brings this whole new world. And I'm going to show you in just a moment why that's important. But let's just start. Now, this comes out of the collection of FamilySearch. And these are the numbers as of 2023. I don't have the current numbers with me, but FamilySearch Library had 2.4 million rolls of microfilm, almost 200,000 microfiche, 600,000 books, and so forth. Well, that's what's important here is not all of those records are indexed yet. There's just so many indexers and go around. So a lot of those are not indexed. But with using AI and training AI to go into those documents, we are able to search those documents, all of them. Okay, it opens a whole new realm. And I'm going to tell you right now, before we really get going on this, it's not my fault if your complete evening is destroyed. Okay. I had a lady, the last time I gave this talk, she wrote me an email and said, Todd, you ruined my whole evening. Sat down for an hour presentation with you, and then I spent 6 hours going through it on my own, doing my own family. So it's not my fault. Be forewarned, it's going to take over your research. But what does all that rolls of microfilm and everything mean? It means roughly in the library or in the collection of Family Search, we have roughly 15.5 billion searchable names. We have 6.1 billion digital images, and those digital images are not indexed. We just can't index them that fast. And so those are the documents that takes advantage of this full text search, the AI tool, and brings those to you. I mean, it opens it so much. I'm going to show you, and if not quite yet, but in 10 or 15 minutes, I'm going to show you how this affects a Jewish community, more so than what I'm going to show to start with. But it's just mind-boggling what it can do. So to go to full text search, we go right to FamilySearch.org. And you'll see that that's just the title page of FamilySearch.org. All of these slides I showed you, it doesn't matter if you have a Family Search account or not. You'll notice on here, I'm not signed in as anything. This is just the standard FamilySearch.org website that you go to. And if you do the records bar and you go to search up there at the top, and right below it, all these drop down records and full text search. We're going right to that red arrow is with full text search. And that's just where we're going. And I don't know if Roy's broke up a little bit when he was talking about it, but when we're done here today, I will forward all these slides on to him. So you'll, not only is it being recorded, but you'll have access to these slides so you can walk yourself through it. But I'm going to go to full text search, and it takes me to this page. It says unlock new discoveries with full text search. Now, one thing I need to point out, full text search is growing so fast and so much more is coming into AI and everything that it's possible that this PowerPoint could be outdated in a week with new information and stuff. So just keep going to the full search tab and it will help. So it takes you to this, and you'll notice there you can look for a specific collection. You can look for, there's some tips on how to search it, but you can't go wrong because it's just searching all the documents. It's giving you different ways to search those documents, but you can't go wrong. You can't mess it up. Don't worry that you're into a problem. No, because if you do, you'll just have to change your search tool a little bit. This one here, well, let's go one here. So if I go to various phrases, various search tips, it takes me to a list. It says you can find, put in the quotations or put in the plus sign, kind of standard search things that you'll get from various websites. You can put, a question mark in the middle. You can try all of those things. Okay. So if we go back to that, down here on the left, it says browse all collections. So if I don't go to the browse collections, if I just do the start your search up on the right-hand side of the screen there, I'm searching the entire collection, which is quite frankly what I prefer to do. And I'm going to show you some examples of why that has been benefited. If you go to browse all collections, my fear is I'm going to miss so much of what I want. Okay. So if I go to browse all collections here, and just to show you what that is, 8,149 different collections that are being searched in here. And you'll notice some of them have a lot of records. Alabama Wills and Deeds has, 2.2 million records. Some of them you get into them have 10 and 20 million. So it's incredible the amount of records that are in here. I think it's just going to change everything we do in family history. So if I go to New York and just say I want the New York records, here's United States, New York, there's 17 various collections that are part of it. But look at the sizes, 27 million, 8 million, 9 million, 6 million. Incredible amount of records are in these. And you'll notice last updated on the right, 2 of these were updated in February. They are being updated constantly. So keep going back and keep trying new things and so forth. So we're just going to start with the search page. Now, you can do it various ways. You can do it by keyword. You can do it by name. You can do it by location. I'm going to do it here by a name, but you can even put that name into a keyword and try it that way. You can't go wrong. And the thing to remember is using the different keyword, name, or place. If you have a name and a location, you're going to want to try it in all three of those places because you may get different results back. AI is still learning and it's still pulling a million records out, but we need to work with it as well. We need to search all of them. So I'm just going to put in a name. Now, this is a name. This is not a Jewish family. I'm going to show you first, but I put this up here because I knew the family and they asked me to help them research, and they had no idea of any of this. But everything you're about to see came through AI. Okay. So I'm going to put up the name, and the name we're going to search for is Reginald George Kalnick. Family knew next to nothing about him. Okay. They knew he's from Kingston, Jamaica, and that's about all. So let's just go in and we're going to search by that name, Reginald George Kalnick. Now, remember that the search I did is by his name, but then after a little while, I took out the George because some people are just known by their first name on record, just, Reginald Kalnick. Then I tried just George Kalnick, and then you'll see I tried just Kalnick and put in Jamaica. And you'll see the abundance of records that comes out because of this. This is all full text search. So here he is. Born on the 29th of December, 1897 in Kingston, Jamaica. He arrived in the U.S. as Reginald S. Kalnick. So there's not going to be anything in there if you put in George Kalnick without the Reginald, because it came as Reginald S. And he was listed as a dental mechanic. This, by the way, was one of the first time they'd ever seen this picture, and this is all from full text search. So there's this record right there, gives his information. He's listed on here as Reginald George, but as you'll notice down below, it says he came on the ship Julia in 1920 as Reginald S. Kalnick. So George may not be a great source because you'll get it up here, but if he's listed as Reginald on anything, you may miss him there. So there's a great one that came through that. But what else came? Well, we had the name of the ship, so let's see if we can find him. And there's Reginald, no George. He's a dentist. He was a dental technician. Now he's a dentist out of Kingston, Jamaica. Gives us his brother's name and is where he's going to live in Long Island with Mr. J. McLean, who is a friend. Some basic information here. Let's see what else it gave us. Reginald George Kalnick's World War One, his draft registration card. Born in Jamaica, verifies the date of birth, gives us his phone number if you want to call him. There he is. I'm sure that's not a working number anymore. But here's his relative and so forth, and where he's going to work. He's going to work for a doctor as a dentist there. So, and then he signs at Reginald G. So all these are in Jamaica. So we go check in the Jamaica Civil Registration. It's one of the databases one of the collections you can search. And we go in there, birth, marriage, and death records, and we find Reginald Gladstone Kalnick. So George is now he was registered under Gladstone, and here he is, Reginald Gladstone, right there. And that gives his father and his mother and so forth. Kingston, Jamaica, verifies the date of birth. So as soon as I see this, maybe I want to do searches for Gladstone Kalnick because it would add that to the possible collection of records you can find. So as we go through all the birth, marriage, and death records, we find him and his siblings. He has 4 siblings, and here they are. Just searching the collection of Jamaican records. So all of them are right there. So the question obviously is, does he have any other siblings? Well, let's go to full text search. And remember, if we down at the bottom, it shows us a video, or we can do the search tips. But we put his name in, and this is what the index you're going to see is. It's going to give us various things that tied in for Kalnick. Now, these are all Jamaica. So this is I just now put it in Jamaica because I want to get some of the records from Jamaica. And this is how it first comes up, okay? In just a moment, I'll show more short detail of what it looks like on his record. But here's the probate records down here at the bottom. And so where did I put Kalnick in? And where did I put Jamaica in? Hit search. And up here, all of are these are probate records. This is George William Alexander Kalnick, and he says, "I appoint my son Reginald George Kalnick." You remember on his birth certificate, his father was William, so that ties. So if we click on that, it's going to show us the original document. Now this screen cut off. I'll show you a better example in a minute, but here's the will on the left. Over on the right, you can see part of it is a summary of the document. This one's not bad to read because it's all typed. But what if it was all handwritten? Well, on the right over here, AI takes and transcribes that into a typed document that you can read. And if it's in a foreign language, for example, we've got a lot of German, a lot of Portuguese coming in, we're starting to build the other languages. If it's in one of those, you can then hit the translation and it'll translate it as well. So you don't have to know the language. If you can get the document, then you can do the translation and it will help you with that. So it's an amazing tool. So here's that document. Here's the second page of it. You notice how it ties in all the Kalnick, brings them all in. If I was just looking for Denzel Leslie Kalnick, it may not have shown because that's not who we were searching for, but it's all there together. So we have all that basic information. Let's put a family together using this. If I get my mouse to cooperate, we're going to put a family together here. So here's a few more records for the Kalnick family. Then we're going to get into a Jewish family. So down here at the bottom, we have from Annapolis, Maryland. So we started with just Jamaica. Then we went to Long Island. That's where he said he was going to work for a dentist. We went to Long Island. And here we have a record that shows us that record. Now he's under Thomas Maurice Kalnick, who's a doctor, but it gives all the various members of the family. This is from a history of, came out of a book about a history of an area. And you may never have found this if you just looked in the Family History Library catalog, because it may have just been registered under the location. So, but you see, it pulls up, and I search for Kalnick. That's why everything that's in Kalnick is highlighted. Okay. So it pulls all of those out. But what other records? Here's miscellaneous records from New York City. It happens to be an immigration record. We've all seen plenty of these, I know. But here's the Kalnick family. And here's that Reginald S. Remember, I said he came in as Reginald S. There's his ship list where he's Reginald S. And there's his mother and so forth. So they're all there together. And if you go to page 2 of that, it says they're on their way to stay with the H. Kalnick, who was also they were all born in Kingston, Jamaica. What other documents did it pull out of this? New York City birth records. Now, the child's name is not Kalnick. If you went to an index, and looked for Kalnick, it may not have pulled out because he's not listed. This child's not listed as Kalnick. However, it pulled out the mother's maiden name of Kalnick and where they were from, Jamaica. So it went through the document and pulled out the Kalnick, even though it wasn't listed as the child in the birth record. That right there is the big advantage of full text search. It can help you with the entire document and so forth. So here's another one. This is a ship arriving from Kingston, Jamaica, 1841 in Baltimore. And here's the Kalnick family coming in. If you taken enough time, maybe you would have found that. But if you didn't know your family was in Baltimore, you probably wouldn't have. I want to show you some of the of AI because of full text search. Here's one from Massachusetts, a birth record from Massachusetts. Okay, this one shows better. So here's a death in Los Angeles, and you notice over on the left, it summarizes the entire document. So every time it pulls up, it gives you the document on the left, and on the right is the summary. And if this was in a foreign language, right under that, you would see transcribe document or translate document, and it would pull it up that way for you. Okay, that's a Jamaican family. But now let's talk about a Jewish family. This is the gentleman that caused me to get started in family history. This is Morris David Rosenbaum, as he was known here. He was born in Forden, Poland, as Moses David Rosenbaum. Um, here's the 20-year journey in 1 minute. He was raised in Forden, Poland. He had 6 younger sisters. He was the only boy. Born in 1830. At the age of 20, they sent him out into the world, said, you need to go learn from the world and not be a Polish farm boy, I guess. And so he left and he stopped. He couldn't speak English. He spoke multiple languages. He couldn't speak English. So the first place he sent him was obviously London, which makes perfect sense, I'm sure. After London, he ended up in New York City, um, New York to Philadelphia, Philadelphia to Charleston, Charleston to New Orleans, down around the Cape, and he ended up in San Francisco. This is my great-great-grandfather. So he ended up in San Francisco. He was there not a great deal of time, and then he made the trek from San Francisco to Salt Lake City, which is where I'm at. That's how I ended up here. So this is who started it all for me. And so we're going to use this Forden, Poland, and this family as examples of what we can find through full text search. Okay. So that's him. But now another name from San Francisco. I said he had 6 younger sisters. Well, he had 2 sisters who married brothers who were also from Forden. And they are the Oser family, which is a San Francisco Jewish family. So this is him. This would be Morris David Rosenbaum's nephew. This is my great uncle, Harry Jonas Oser. This comes out of the immigration records from Brazil, and you can see it's in Spanish, but Harry Jonas Oser, who was the son of Morris and Rose Oser. He was an engineer, and he lived on Larkin in San Francisco. Okay, so this is my family. So I want to find out more about the Osers. So I turned to full text search. And in this case, I combined in keywords. So we talked about name, we talked about keywords, and we talked about a place. I'm combining in keywords, I'm putting in Oser, San Francisco. I know a lot about the Rosenbaums. I didn't know as much about the Osers. Okay. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to search for the Osers in San Francisco. And the very first one at the top is a will of the family. And this is a document that I probably would have found it if I'd been searching right, but because of the full text search, I was able to get it. I'm sorry that it gets a little blurry sometimes in showing here, but here's the will of Morris Oser, also known as M. Oser. But what's amazing to me on this document, and I couldn't believe what I found, if you look down here at the bottom, he's got all of his relatives and where they're living. Rose Oser, the widow, in Chico, Harry, his son, San Francisco, William, his son, Chico. But as you go down here further, the next one will show you that it goes into even people outside the US, it's listed. So, and you notice on the right, it gives you the translation. Okay. So it's a great source, and it brought that up for me. It brings up the will, and it brought up other documents. But through all this, it brought me back to Forden, Poland. Now, because of the time frame and what was going on in the world, Forden was, sometimes you'll see it as Forden, Poland, Forden, Prussia, Forden, Germany. You know, it just depending on the time and everything. So you need to, when you do the location search, if I did a search for Forden, I need to do probably all 3 different searches and I'll get different results. But let's go. And I just realized I spelled this wrong. That's lovely. That should be Forden, Prussia, not Forden, Bruges. But so let's go look at Forden. Now, Forden's, special to my family, obviously. This is a marriage record taken out of the synagogue records from Forden. This is the marriage in 1824 of Joseph Moses Rosenbaum and his wife, Rachel Samuel. This is the first documentation in my family that we've ever found of the surname Rosenbaum. This is that time frame where the Jews in Poland and so forth were being forced to take surnames. So this is the very first record that exists. So this is why when I started doing family history, Fordon, I soon learned, had a population of 600 to 700. The Jewish population was 600 to 700 people at most. But because of everything that happened in Europe, as we well are aware, the entire community got scattered. Now it has returned somewhat, but it's still not very big. But for a time, it was completely scattered. And I always wondered what happened to all those people from Fordham. I wanted to know. So when I started family history work, I hate to say how many years ago it was, but it was more than a few. I was 11 years old when I started. In the first 45 years, 50 years of doing that, I was only able to identify less than a dozen of the people from Fordham where they had ended up in the world. Then AI came out, and I was able to do AI searches to bring this community back together. So here's a keyword search using Fordham, Prussia. I want to show you. So what we're doing is we're rebuilding a Jewish community. Given more to one of the first, you notice there's 1.1 million results that came out. Now, granted, what is the reason there's so many? Yes, this pulls up both Fordham and Prussia, but it's going up further down the list. It's just going to bring up anything from Prussia. So by doing Fordham, Prussia, it pulls it up. And this is another one of those beautiful wills that, did I skip over? That was rude. Oh, I accidentally deleted it. But in this will, and I'll show you the will in a minute, but he gives to the Hebrew poor at his native town, Fordham, $150, to the Christian poor, $150. Oh, he gave $250 to the Hebrew poor. Christian poor, $750. Then he starts into this thing to my uncle Moses of this location, $500. To my uncle here, $500, and he's giving you the location. So then that's a whole new full text search. But we won't go into that now. But it's pulling it, all those records out that way. So I'm just saying, well, who ended up in Salt Lake City from Ford? I know Rosenbaum did, but this very top one, this is the Moses Friedman I showed you a minute ago, and I was reading it. But it pulls out everything with Fordham and Prussia. The top couple are Fordham. But you'll notice down here, these are different locations in Prussia, and there's a couple of Germany and so forth. But you can see the translation over here on the right. So this is Moses Friedman, who's living in this location, sum of 500. In case of his death, go to his two daughters. Or to my uncle here, which in case of death, go to his daughter, 15. My cousin, Marion Adler of Newburgh, New York, so forth. My cousin Fanny Tobias of Newburgh, New York. These are all descendants of these Fordham families coming through. And here it comes down to even more places and gives more money. And then my nephew, Alfred Jacobs of Salt Lake City, 500, and so forth. So these are all records. And let me give you this, if I can blow that up a little for you. It might be easier to see there. But these are all records that tie Fordham in. Now, who else showed up from Fordham? Well, one of the very first ones I was able to find, Tina Alexander, who lived in San Francisco. This was an entry in San Francisco, August 25th, 1909. And right there, she bequeaths to the Fordham Synagogue in Fordham, Prussia, the sum of $25. And then she gives money to the shoemaker in Fordham, synagogue in Colm, Prussia. And then she gives all these others. And she lists nieces, nephews, grandchild of my sister, so forth. An incredible document pulling all together. But she is a San Francisco Fordham family. And if I had just done a search of, even if I knew there was a San Francisco will, you'll notice it would be under her name, Tina Alexander. It wouldn't list Forden in the search bar. I would never have found it that way. So there's all of these records that can keep coming in, and that's ones for Forden and San Francisco. How about Forden with Germany? And here's one. This is a little blurry even on the record, and I apologize. But it does the same thing where it takes all these places and identifies where they're at. And it's down here at the very bottom to the Jewish congregation of Forden, Germany. So this one would be searched for and found under Forden, Germany, some under Forden, Poland, some under Forden, Prussia. So it's pulling them all in that way. Now, here is one that I just played with, and I did, okay, let's see who's in Forden, plus let's add German wills. So we got Forden plus Germany wills. Didn't know what would happen, but here's some more, and here's one out of William Wolf, who's in San Francisco, another Forden family member. I know it's very small, but I wanted to get it in the same picture. Does the same thing, lists everyone. This is that Tina Alexander, and he's listed in here. He's the one in Forden. But there's the there's the translation for everything right over there. So let's look at the Forden records. Now, this is where these are just meant to show you all the different examples of what you can get here. So these are all records that mention Forden. This is a book that talks about shipping and past to Forden. I have not heard the name stopped at Forden, doesn't give a lot of information, but it talks about ships and so forth. So but it does list Forden, which is important. Here we have burial records from, these are California, but you notice these are just pulling out over here by Prussia. But if you go over to the right, you have Jacob Abrams from Forden, Prussia. So it's pulling it out by Forden, but the rest it's pulled out because I used the word Prussia. And these are a burial record. So it's pulling them out that way. But there's another member of the Forden family, if you will. Now, I know a large percentage, if you will, ended up in either San Francisco or a few in New York. But also in this record is my own ancestor, Morris David Rosenbaum, who was born 1830. This is his naturalization in the Utah Territory in 1871. So he's there. But look at some of these others. Why would I have looked in New Haven, Connecticut? This is an index to it, and then I can take this from there. But this is Forden, Prussia, date of birth 1842. He is in the synagogue records, Jacob Alexander. So he is there. So that's a record from New Haven, Connecticut, another family I did not know of. And I certainly would never have looked in Indiana. It just doesn't make natural sense for the Polish family to end up in Indiana when everyone else is scattering to the coast. But there's that. And he is in the synagogue records in Forden. And then in further, you have Solomon Harris, whose passport application here shows he's from Forden, Poland, formerly Germany. So he's going back and forth. And this is nice because it also lists my father, Hirsch Harris, so forth. So it gives you all that information. These are all pulling in different records and pulling in different ways where Forden, Poland is highlighted in that. And then another one I was able to find was petition for citizenship. This is from Chicago. And here's Freya, who was born in Forden, Poland. Name of her husband is Gustav, so forth. But it gives us all that information. And that's another Forden family. So these Jewish communities that were destroyed, scattered, we can bring them back together with full text search. We can bring all those people back into one tree. Another one, this is Malcolm Stern's collection in Cincinnati. This was a history written on the Levy family. Here's Ellis, it's Isaac. They're all giving Malka, they're all giving Forden as their place of birth. These are a little bit early for the synagogue records, but they're there. And so it just continues. And the dates, the important dates over here on the right, if I pull those up, magnify them a little bit, you can see it then goes through and transcribes that document and gives you all the pertinent information, all the names and their relationship and so forth, who they're married to. So it's just amazing. It brings all that document into one. And then one I just recently found that is a San Francisco document. San Francisco voting registers 1869. And these are some of my family from Forden. These Rosenbaums here are mine, these Prussia. Now, this doesn't say Forden on it, but I happen to know them. So I did a search for Rosenbaum and Prussia in San Francisco, and it did pull in some of the cousins and so forth. But it's amazing what it does, different records. Okay, so that's full text search. But now we have something new that's just a couple weeks old, and it's called simple search. Same basic idea. The difference is sometimes it's hard for us to think in terms of, okay, where do I want to search? So how you get to this is a Family Search labs. So if you go to Family Search and you do the backspace and type in labs behind it, and again, this document, I'll send these slides on so you have them. Labs is all the new stuff Family Search is working on that you can go and look at. Here's some right here. We have a thing we're working on with My Heritage to access their records on ours and ours on theirs and so forth. And then you can search all the trees. But over here on the far right, try simple search. You go there. I turned it on so you go. That did say try it like these do. Once you hit try it, it goes like this. And you go to the go to experiment button. And instead of searching by name or place, you just type in what you're looking for. You notice the example they put up here, search for John Smith, born in 1867 in Berlin, Germany. Well, I'm not going to do that because there's a million John Smiths. But what if I type in search for Moses Abraham in San Francisco about 1880? Narrows it down quite a bit from a Smith in Germany, although maybe Smith is not common there. But so I just went and did search. So you just type in what you're thinking. There's no right, there's no wrong. It doesn't even have to be in a sentence. Just type in your thought. You know, if I could find Moses Abraham in San Francisco around 1880, I'd be a happy camper. So I did that. I just typed that in. So this is called simple search, where you don't have to do search parameters. You can just type it in. 63 different documents came up for Moses Abraham around 1880. And the one I have highlighted there, I know you can't see it well because it's the two documents, but he's right over here. Morris is there, or Moses. But you can do this and you can go in and you can pull out those documents just by typing in what's on your mind. Now, I know this 45 minutes have gone fast and it's a lot to take in. So I always promise, and here it is. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any help you need, you wanted to sit and discuss this for a little bit, that's my email. You are welcome. Please use it. It may take a day or two to get back to you sometimes, but I will answer it and we'll try to work you through whatever problem you're having and see if we can't help you use full text search. It really is something you just get in, start digging with it, and go. And I think it will come together for you. And I think it's going to be very beneficial. So thank you very much for this time. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to hear them.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Todd. Very interesting, as expected. I looked through the chat and I actually don't see any questions entered there, but if anyone has a question now, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question.
I have a question. I raised my hand, but
yes, please.
Here we go.
So I would like to find the name of one of my grandmother's cousins and I only know his name as Shebsel. I believe his daughter's name, her married name, and her unmarried name. And so, and I think he lived in New York. So I, I'm thinking that I can look for her name and New York.
Mhm.
And if she's the informant on his death record, then I would find out what name he used when he was in New York.
Yes.
But the records are, they have that key over them. If I search, would it show me the record and tell you, yes, it's here, but you have to go to the family history library, the local one, or will it just tell me that it can't do it until I go there?
No, so the key over, that's a great comment. Thank you for that. So the key over is a restriction.
Right,
We are working really hard to get all those restrictions lifted. Those don't come from us.
right.
When we acquire records from people, they have the right to put certain restrictions on them. And some of them say you have to be in a family history center or so forth. So we're working to get those restricted. Sometimes it may pull up and say this document exists, you may have to go to a family history center. But I'm also finding that even with the restriction, AI is reading those documents, and you may very well see the result of your search.
Okay, thank you. I'll try
Mhm.
it. Thanks
And
very
if you have a document that pulls up with the key over it, you know it's your document. You have my email.
much. Okay, thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
can answer the question about Russian records.
Okay, good.
Russian and Chinese are just now starting to be, the AI tools are starting now to do those. So right now they're not, I would say they're not great, but if you give them 2 or 3 months, you may find some great results. We're starting to see a lot more Portuguese now. We're getting Portuguese records coming in. So we're working hard to train the AI, but Russian and Chinese are very hard.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
On those though, let me throw this out. Where it's the Height family from Odessa, go to simple search and type in, I'm looking for the Height family from Odessa. Because we never realized it surprises me all the time. Maybe it's not a record from Odessa we're looking for. Maybe it's a family history or a biography or something where people are documenting the Height family that was from Odessa. Only it's a New York document now, but they talk about those. So go to the simple search and say, I'm looking for Height records from Odessa and see what comes up, because someone else documented in a different kind of record, it could bring it to you.
All right. Any other questions?
Are Hebrew and Yiddish records being found through AI? Not really yet. They're working on them. It's a big push. Um, but as of yet, no. As of now, it's mostly English, Spanish, some Portuguese. Others are coming in, but they're coming in quickly. But it's just training the AI tool.
Okay, thank you. Any others? Good. Well, Todd, thanks again. Thanks so much for this very interesting talk. I'd heard
Absolutely.
a,
Thank you all.
I'd heard a little bit about the full text search, but I learned a whole lot
Well, thank you all
more from
very, very
your.
much, and I hope you have the rest of a great day.
Okay, thank you again, and we will end the meeting now.
Most of the Jewish records for Russia are written in Cyrillic and Hebrew,
Right,
combination of Hebrew and Yiddish.
right.
Are you suggesting that the Russian part of the records are likely to be available before the Hebrew part of the records?
Uh, I don't know if I'm suggesting that, but I think both sides of that are going to be some in the future. They're not there yet. So possibly, yeah. I mean, as we work on those tools, um, I don't know which one I dare say is first or second, but yeah, I think that both, all, we're working as hard as we can on everything we can. We do have a lot of Spanish and with Portuguese is coming in and so forth, but the Russian, the Chinese, the Hebrew, they never come as fast as you want. But again, and the Polish is the same thing. So again, you try the simple search and just type in a family name from a location. Type it in, just said, I'm looking for so-and-so from here, and see if it's been documented somewhere else. Another archive. We find that all the time in genealogy where, let's say it's a Polish record, and then people in the US who are documenting their own history donate their archives, their collections to someone else. And then it ends up in like full text search, even though talks about a Polish family, but it looks like a San Francisco or New York or something record. There's other ways around it. So try the simple search for any other countries. Just do it and see if it's documented somewhere else. Simple search becomes kind of a catch-all for those records that why we're waiting for full text search. But it's grown from full text search grown from 5 collections to 8,100 in 2 years. So it's mind-boggling.
I take it that it's not possible to do a Boolean search to look for documents where two things occur, that is, the surname and the city.
Yes, you can go into the keyword and type in the surname. I did a couple there. I did Oser plus San Francisco.
But do you get do you get every instance where San Francisco is mentioned?
The first, it always goes strongest to weakest. So the first records you'll get are the ones that include Oser and San Francisco. Then you'll get just the Osers, then you get just the San Franciscos. But all the ones where both are mentioned will be at the top of the list.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, Todd, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I will end the meeting right now.